All right. I want to hear about this offensive line. So the three here, Tony, Steve, and Kevin, able to converse with what? Offensive line coach and a couple players?
Yeah, Greg Stadrawa and 4 linemen, yes.
Steve, we'll start with you. Anything that you drew from the offensive line conversation this week?
I'm going to defer to the other two because I was getting my second COVID shot during today's press conference. So I'll listen and react, I guess, to what I hear from the others.
To Steve's defense and credit, he did tell me that. I was blanking out. Steve, let me know that. So, Kevin, we'll start with you.
Well, I missed the beginning of Studrawa because I was at the chiropractor. I got it in the play. That's why I was going like that.
I inadvertently missed the hand signal. I had already started into my approach. So Tony, you're our third option here. I hope you feel good about that.
Actually, I had dozed off and I missed the entire Zoom. No, it was we got to talk to Greg Stadrawa, Thayer Munford, Nick Petit-Frere, Luke Weipler, a redshirt freshman backup guard center, and then Paris Johnson. And my biggest takeaway is that it sure seems like it's going to be Paris Johnson at right guard for the Buckeyes this year, next to Nick Petit-Frere, as try to figure out where Harry Miller and Matt Jones will end up working. I think we'll see one at left guard, one at center. It just depends on who will be there in the fall because Harry Miller is out right now. So Matt Jones is getting, I think, a lot of the first team reps. Luke Weipler is getting some reps there at center as well. That's why I asked Greg Stadrawa today if Harry Miller would be in the best 5 linemen because that's what he's looking for. I know there's speculation that Harry Miller's not going to make the starting lineup because people want DeJuan Jones in there and they want Paris Johnson and they want Matt Jones. But I asked Stadrawa if Harry Miller would is it a safe assumption that he's going to be in the best 5, your 5 best? And he said, yeah, it's a safe assumption. So when he gets back in the summer, he was at left guard last year. So it just depends on, do you want to move him to center? That was always the plan. But Matt Jones getting work at center this spring will give them an opportunity to, I guess, measure them against each other and figure out where they want to go. And then, of course, they will probably compete a little bit in August to see exactly who they want at center. But I honestly think the 5 best are set right now. And then, they have a 6th guy in DeJuan Jones, a 7th guy in Luke Weipler, and Josh Fryer, which I don't want to mention everybody because, Kevin wants to talk, but this is as deep as I've ever seen it at Ohio State in terms of the offensive line.
Yeah, they've gone through so many times where it's been 5+1 or 5+1.5, and you just don't know. And, the thing is as we sit here in April and, you never want to speak anything into existence. You just don't know what health and depth are going to look like once you get to the start of the season or whatnot. But they certainly seem to have a second wave who are ready to go. Tony brings up, DeJuan Jones and Luke Weipler, and you got Enoch Viamahi. Some other guys that, that saw playing time last season. So, there certainly is going to be a lot of push there. I think we do know who the 5 are going to be, but, don't tell that to the guys who are 6 through 9 right now because they're going to continue to push these guys. And, you sit there and you look at a depth chart, and the question was kind of asked to some of the guys or whatever. You look at a depth chart, especially with somebody like Paris Johnson, and you think that, you're coming in and you're going to be a tackle. And then, the best path for you to get on the field is sliding inside the guard, and not only sliding into guard, but, you sit there and you think that you're going to play one position and you're going to play on one side of the line potentially. And now you're playing inside and reverse handed. And this is a really important time with Ohio State losing a couple players on the interior line. It was so critical for them to have spring practice, and knock on wood, we've made it through whatever it is, 8 of them now. The development just means so much to this team.
Thought Kevin had possibly turned a motivational speaker here, speaking things into existence. Very nice. Steve, your thoughts about the offensive line?
Yeah, I agree with Tony. I think you got to be very optimistic about where things are at right now with the offensive line. You've got 2 studs, it seems, at tackle with Thayer Munford and Nicholas Petit-Frere, who are kind of anchoring things at both ends. And then I think however it shakes out in the middle three, it's going to be fine. I think Luke Whippler or Weipler, or however you're pronouncing it, Whippler, Weipler, at center has been a very pleasant surprise for them. And there were some reports that he was working with the ones during one of the practices that the media got to attend. So that was a good thing for him. Harry Miller, obviously that didn't go so well last year at Michigan State. I think was the game. The snaps were everywhere all over the place. And again, kind of pressed into that job, perhaps at the last minute when Josh Myers was ruled out due to COVID. So given a full offseason, a chance to run up to it and take that job, maybe he would handle it. And of course, you got to like what you're getting right now out of Matthew Jones. He filled in last year, was awesome. So Paris Johnson, jury's out on him as an every down guy. I mean, we've seen little drips and drabs of him here and there during the games last fall. But is he a guy that can put together a full body of work over an entire game? Remains to be seen. But I would agree with what the guys are saying, that you got options, you got depth, and you got talent. So I'm excited that that this offensive line's starting to come together.
One I'll mention, like I always call him Luke Whippler, and then he's introduced today as Luke Weipler. So his mama calls him Luke Weipler. I'm going to call him Luke Weipler. But he had talked about there's an opportunity to play this year. There's an opportunity to start. There's two jobs open on the inside, losing Josh Myers and Wyatt Davis. And Stadrawa told a story about how the day after the Alabama game, the players are all sent home. Go home, go be with your families, because they hadn't seen their families in months. And the day after the Alabama game, Weipler sends Stud some video of him working out that day at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center, asking for some tips and some, just critiques on what he's doing. And so that gives you an idea of what he is trying to accomplish as a young player, a redshirt freshman at this point, I believe. And so that's he's not the only guy doing that. And it's a mentality of, you think you've got the five that are set, but as we've seen, 6, 7, 8 guys. I mean, Max Ray was thrown into the Michigan State game last year at right tackle. I don't know that he'd ever played more than 4 or 5 snaps in a single game. And that was his 3rd or 4th year last year. And he did really well. And that's just a testament to the entire offensive line, the way they all prepare. And it starts in the winter, builds in the spring. And the other things, Stadrawa said that he's got 11 guys on it at offensive line. This is their first spring, meaning they didn't have one. Nobody had one last year. And even like Harry Miller, this would have been his first spring, and he's missing it. And so you've got juniors on the team who are experiencing their first spring. So there's a lot of development, but the depth is pretty incredible.
Whippler, Weipler, who says tomato
Luke.
Anyway?
It's called Luke.
Does anybody out there?
I think Gordon Ramsay does, and he's pretty accomplished at what he does.
Tomato. Okay.
You donkey.
I always heard that comment, tomato, but I always thought, who says tomato? Okay, they're out there.